What's up, people? Welcome back to the Parts Guys. Today we're going to be doing a compression check on the Camaro. I managed to squeeze enough space into the garage so that I could get the car in here, and we're going to just, bust a bunch of knuckles until we get the compression reading and find out what the health status of this LT1 is. Alright, let's jump into it.
Parts Guys.
Real quick before we get into it, for those who don't know, this is a 1994 Z28 Lt1 350 Camaro, blah, blah, blah. This engine is basically a regular old small block 350. It's just basically got aluminum heads and a different style intake manifold, different water pump. I know that sounds like a lot of different stuff, but it really, the bottom half is the same. But anyways, we're going to try and figure out what the compression sits at this. We're not going to really worry too much about peak numbers. We're just going to try and see if they're all within about 20% of each other, and pretty much base that off of whether we think this engine is missing because of low compression or is it missing because of burned up wires and whatnot. But let's go ahead and jump into this. I did start this the other night, so I'm going to go ahead and show you what I did already, and then we'll catch up to now. If you guys are not familiar with these kind of cars, it is not the easiest getting down to the spark plugs and all that stuff. You've got to do a little bit of gymnastics, but it's going to be alright. I'm going to wear a glove so I don't get tetanus. I'm going to take out the airbox and stuff like that there, and then, really there ain't a whole lot to do over here other than to take that alternator off.
Yeah. Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts, I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong. I won't stop to the top, so you better back off and get lost. I'ma stay loud, stay proud, never running out, never heading south. I'll be spreading out, call it word of mouth, can't put me down.
Cylinder 5 back here, that thing, I reached down and I was able to wobble the frickin' spark plug down there, man. So this one, I'm able to wobble like crazy. That I'm just going to take out with my fingers. I didn't even have to use the ratchet at all.
Just tell me that I can. Just tell me that I can. Just tell me that I can. Just tell me that I can.
Not very easy to get down here and get to the spark plugs. These ones I was able to use a ratchet. Well, I didn't even have to try on that one because that was completely loose. But back there, I had to bust out 3/4 inch wrench and just use that on the actual socket to loosen it because there's not enough room. At least not from this angle. If I went underneath, I could probably just use a ratchet, or if I wanted to get all fancy with the extenders and, elbows and whatnot, I could have done it like that. But this one with all the blow-by on it, this one smells like fuel, and that was the one I took out with just my fingers. It was super loose, and this is the one that was super tight. So we got 3 auto lights and then an AC Delco, which is what should be in there. We need to get the compression gauge out, and we'll get that hooked up to cylinder 1, and we'll crank it over and just see what we're sitting at. And then we'll go ahead and write down what we get for PSI on each cylinder, mark it down to what the spark plug looks like and everything, so I can keep it all there for further research, But anyway, so let's get started on the compression test. Alright, so take this compression tester that I rented and never returned. Now with that threaded in there, we'll thread this end into the spark plug hole, and then we'll just hook this up to the compression gauge, and then we'll just crank it over. Maybe not. Alright, let me try again. I don't even feel like it'll start. How silly. This is stupid. Alright, so I've been going nuts over this, trying to get this compression tester fitting to go into where the spark plug goes, right? I got convinced that it was the wrong size even, I know it's 14 millimeter. I double checked and looked up the thread pitch on these. These are 14 millimeter as well, blah, 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 blah. I still didn't believe it because my eyeballs said differently. So I busted out this, I start measuring, and you know what? It measures out the same. This one just doesn't taper as much as this one does, but the overall thread size is the same, right? So I can't get this long fitting to go in, right? I've tried. It's not just that one cylinder. I've tried the other ones too. Still can't get them in, right? I can take the spark plug, thread that in, no problem. No problem at all. I managed to get the compression tester in there. What I did was I went ahead and chased the threads on the compression tester, and then that was able to clean them up enough to thread in there. So thankfully I didn't have to take the header off, and I tried that before I loosened any bolts. So, you know, I saved myself some hassle. So now we're all set up. I'm going to go ahead and crank this over, and we're going to see what kind of compression we're dealing with on cylinder 1. What? Okay. Let's just make sure that's seated all the way. Alright, we're already killing the battery.
I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go eat, then you know I'm gonna feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon. I got eyes in the back of my head, I'm seeing. Take me for granted and you know I'm leaving. I'ma take what's mine with the webs I'm weaving. I could take this crowd from seeing to believing. Got a taste for blood and my tongue keeps bleeding. From the words I spit, so sharp, so freezing, so cold. Behold, frostbite they feeling. I could tear you apart or I could go heal them. Don't believe in fate, don't believe in ceilings. I just need a taste and my mind starts feeling. I don't pace myself.
Okay, so I put the spark plugs back in on this driver's side, and I put the header back on. Then I got the car up in the air, and I took off the Y pipe. And underneath the car, it is soaked in oil, just like everywhere. It is like a murder scene under there. So let me show you the Y pipe real fast, and you can see, look at this thing. It is just covered in oil. This would be the driver's side collector over here. This is the passenger side over here. So you can see it's like the passenger side of the motor, a bell housing down, coming down and leaking down here. So if we come over here, let me just show you what I have managed to find so far. I don't know if you're going to see it too well. So, okay, so this breather here, that's not the correct style breather, to be honest. That's, you know, it's just open element. It's supposed to be closed with a tube coming up here to the throttle body. So it's kind of hard to tell, but there's oil pooled up in the bottom of that. So that's definitely been blowing by out of there and down on the collector and all that stuff. So that's been oil burning. That's a big problem. Then I got to messing around with this here, the oil dipstick, and I noticed there was aluminum foil wrapped down way down low. You know, I'm like, what is that doing there? You know, I don't know. You know, people and their genius ideas. But anyway, so I start messing with that, and I cut a zip tie right here and start wiggling this around, and this thing just is freaking barely even in there. So I might be losing oil right out the oil dipstick. There might not even be a freaking seal at the bottom of that. There's definitely a crap load of oil coming down and hitting that exhaust. Is that all of our smoke? I don't know. We still got to do the compression test on this side, but now that I did all of that bull crap, I can go ahead and figure out how I'm going to back that header off and get to all those spark plugs. Alright, so I jumped ahead a little bit here. I got this whole passenger side taken apart. I went ahead, got all the spark plugs out, got the exhaust manifold just sitting way down there on the ground. Gave myself all the room in the world because it was a tight spot. Alternator is off. I do already got the compression tester into cylinder 2 there and got a little bit of light. That doesn't help much for the camera, but it helps me a lot. We're about ready to start cranking over again. I am leaving the alternator off. I taped up the wire up here and just kind of stuffed it in the boot and hid it out of the way so it doesn't touch anything. And I got the battery connected back up. I am going to go ahead and try cranking this over, and let's get the compression over here. But before that, let me show you, I'll try to show you. If you look down there, you can really tell there's a bunch of oil cake down there. And if you look right up here, there's that breather. And it's just caked in oil all the way down. The starter's covered, everything's covered. So here's a quick look at the spark plugs. You know, they don't look great, but they do look very similar.
Live life for the fight, yeah, I'm here to get it. I got drive, got sight, always have a vision. I don't lie at night, I be in my feelings. I'ma be fine, need time, and I'll soon be winning. I live life for the fight, yeah, I'm here to get it. I got drive, got sight, always have a vision. I don't lie at night, I be in my feelings. I'ma be fine, need time, and I'll soon be winning. I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon. I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon.
Let's go over the compression test. This here, I know it's a jumbled mess, but it's got everything there. Bank 2 definitely fared a lot better than Bank 1. We had 160, 150, 160, and 160 again. And so that's squared away. And the spark plugs, they tell the same story. They all look burned to the same level. They don't look like anything's been running rich versus one running lean. But yeah, so that's squared away. Bank 1, though, that's a little bit different story. We still got a decent amount of compression. I really expected blown head gasket to have under 100 PSI for compression. But we got 125 as our lowest. If you do the 20% math, we're right about at that threshold there. But if you remember, cylinder 5, that was the one that was all oil soaked, the spark plug. So we got oil going past the rings. With that being said, we got to drain this oil and see what condition that's in. So that's the next step, and I'm going to get the car up in the air, and we're going to take a look under there and get the oil out and just take a good look at it, because I'm almost willing to say that we don't got a blown head gasket. We might have a tired motor, but I don't think we got a blown head gasket yet. But let's get back into it. Whoop! Not very smooth here. Okay, so like I said, let's not wash you out here. This thing is covered in oil. Look, you got tons on the transmission pan there. You got the starter just coated in oil. Let's see, get more light up there. It's just, everything is covered in oil under here. The pan is soaked. Then let's come up here with the light. We definitely got seepage up here on the pan. You know, I'm assuming that's from the pan. That could be from a few other things too. I mean, it could be timing cover, all that good jazz. But, see, right under there, that's the distributor right there. But that's not what we're doing right now. We need to drain the oil, and I'm going to drain the oil into these clear, you know, old apple juice containers. And we're going to just take a look at it and, you know, try to see what the heck is wrong with this car. Oh, no. I missed. Uh-oh. Okay. Wow. That looks great. Alright, these are like 3 quarts, so I gotta swap it out with this other one real fast. This was a great idea, Dan. Great idea. I should probably grab another receptacle just in case. Hurry! Whoop. This one ready. Oh, way to go, Dan. Well, it don't work well if you don't catch it. Oh, stop the bleeding! Alright, so let's see what the oil has to tell us. I've let it sit for a while up here on the shelf. This thing, I would assume, have separated already if there was any coolant or water in the oil. But I don't see any separation. Sorry the lighting isn't too good in here, guys. But anyways, I do think it is very broke down. It is about the consistency of baby oil. But the next thing I'm going to do is run this through a filter just to make sure there's no chunks of anything in there. No debris, metal, rocks, whatever in there. But I will say it doesn't smell like coolant or anything. It does smell like fuel, like I've been misfiring and washing the cylinders down. But other than that, it's just really, really broke down. So that could be the low compression on cylinder 5. It definitely isn't helping it. But let's go ahead and run it through the filter and just see if there's any chunks in there. I didn't find any metal contaminants, any chunks of anything left in the filter, so I think we're doing pretty good there. So I do gotta say, I think the compression on this is okay. I don't think it's spectacular or anything. I think we got a bit of a tired engine, but that oil is super thin, so we could throw some thick oil in this thing and see totally different, you know, readings on it. But I'm going to leave it sitting like this because I'm out of time for today. So, till next time, I'm Dan, the Prelude Dude. This is the Parts Guys. Peace.